Hi, welcome to the Brief Book Reviews channel, otherwise known as An Old Guy Reviews the Books he's read this week. Well, it's early January 2023, cold windy day in the southwest of England, and this old guy is currently still working through the books he received as Christmas presents. As someone who occasionally dabbles in cryptocurrency, it always makes me laugh that the opponents of crypto say, crypto can be used by criminals, and that's really a bad thing, which strikes me being somewhat of a nonsense argument, as clearly criminals can use the current banking system for nefarious activities. My son knows that I hold that view and bought me this book as a present at Christmas, which is a non-fiction book which covers one of the biggest banking scandals there's ever been, and it's called Too Big to Jail by author Chris Blackhurst. It was released in June 2022 in the UK. Chris Blackhurst is a well-known journalist, former editor of The Independent, 10 years as city editor of the Standard, and a well-known and respected commentator. So this book's about HSBC and the small matter of a record fine imposed on HSBC of $1.9 billion. That's about, £1.5 billion for, I quote, facilitating money laundering for drug kingpins and rogue nations. It's a tale between 2003 and 2010. Industrial amounts of money were laundered and made clean through HSBC branches in Mexico for the notorious El Chapo and his Sinaloa cartel. So the Hong Kong and Shanghai Banking Corporation, unfortunately, didn't come out of this very well. Strangely enough, no one went to jail as usual, but I digress. Let's get back to the story. The story is well told, like a lot of stories about banking scandals. The truth is often stranger than fiction. So we have a well-structured book here, where the book starts off with a description of how HSBC was formed, the Opium Wars, and then we move on to a background about El Chapo and the Sinaloa cartel, how opium was started to be grown in Mexico, originally came in through immigrant workers. We then move on to HSBC's expansion plans to be the world's biggest bank, and their acquisition of a banking group, fifth largest in Mexico, called Bital, and HSBC's expansion into Mexico. We then trace the rush to promote sales within HSBC, i.e. the way that bonuses were structured, where employees were encouraged to upsell goods. So if somebody wanted a loan, why not sell them a credit card as well? And the story moves on where the cartel were allowed to launder millions of dollars, billions of dollars via HSBC branches, even to the extent where cash was being delivered in cases that were specifically designed to go under the cashier's window. And we follow the American organizations trying to bring the money laundering and the money launderers to account. It's a complicated tale of various agencies within the US, all trying to work to bring these people to book. And as usual, sometimes too many agencies, too many cooks spoil the broth. We also have the involvement of what was at the time the Financial Services Authority in the UK, often referred to as the Financially Supine Authority, because they didn't really do a lot. Now called the FCA, and their view on the matter is clearly there was a thought within the UK that if criminal proceedings were brought against a UK-based bank, that may affect the market. And certainly the Chancellor at the time, the UK Chancellor George Osborne, was lobbying US authorities not to bring criminal prosecutions, but go for a deferred prosecution agreement, which is what they did in the end. So the deferred prosecution agreement basically, made him give back some bonuses for 5 years, give him a slap on the wrist, massive fine, but no one was prosecuted and no one went to jail. So that's basically the story. It's a very well written story, very well structured story. There's some stories of some great people in various agencies who work incredibly hard to bring these people to book. The back of the book has some great source notes which cover every chapter and shows where the author got his information. There's a great index, and it's a very well written story. It follows the last chapter shows a quote from former Bank of England Governor Mervyn King, who talks about who in 2008 during the financial crisis talked about the moral hazard of letting everybody, do what in the banking community do what they like, knowing full well they'd be bailed out. And he used the term when his term as Bank of England governor expired at a dinner at Mansion House to the City of London to coin the term, are these people too big to fail or too big to jail? And hence the title of the book. So, very well written book. I'd give it 8 out of 10, but of course it's a very niche product. You need to be interested in business, in finance. If you are, then this is a really, really good book. It's well written, well researched, and apart from the intrigue and the process of bringing these people to boot, there are some very interesting anecdotes and stories, a great cast of characters, and of course an international flavour as we go from Mexico to the US to the Cayman Islands as usual, and London as usual. So good book, well worth a read. As I said, I'd give it 8 out of 10. So that's it for this week's brief book review. Next week we'll be back to fiction books, but that's it for today. Thanks for watching. 10/10 till we do it again. Thanks very much. Bye.